Welcome to the Unity BootCamp lesson on implementing external authentication. In this lesson, we'll be going over how to implement external authentication with brainCloud. External authentication is used to allow your game or app to authenticate a user with an external platform that brainCloud doesn't support. The external authentication process depends on a cloud code script being written on the brainCloud portal. When making the authenticate external request in your game or app, we need to supply the following parameters: the user's credentials for the external platform, along with the name of the cloud code script. The cloud code script will then take in these credentials and make the necessary validation requests to the external platform that we are authenticating with to confirm that the supplied credentials are in fact valid for this platform. You can see that the response for an authenticate external request is identical to that of the other types of authentication we've covered earlier. In just a moment, we're going to be going over how to implement external authentication with Twitch. Twitch uses OAuth 2.0 as a means of allowing external games or apps like ours to access a user's Twitch account information. We've detailed this process in the previous lesson. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you stop this video and watch that one before continuing with this one. Heading over to the Twitch developer console, we already have a Twitch account created, but the Twitch application has not been created. Let's create that now. Set your application's name, the OAuth redirect URL. This redirect URL must match the one in our app or the OAuth process will fail. Next, select your application's category, click the I'm not a robot button and answer the CAPTCHA. Finally, click the Create button to register the application. The application is created. Next, click the Manage button. From this screen, you can change the application's name, the redirect URL, and you can also get access to the client ID, although you can't change it. Head into Unity, open the Scripts tab, and open up the script called Twitch Helper. The Twitch Helper script was written to streamline this lesson and simplify the OAuth process. As we look over the script, I'll highlight and explain key sections of the code. The Twitch Helper's constructor initializes the client ID, client secret, and redirect URL. The next method I want to highlight is called Start Local Callback Server. It will start the local server and listen on port 3030 for the Twitch response. When it receives a response, the callback HTTP request method will be invoked. One important detail to note is the synchronization context we are setting up in this method. That's because brainCloud needs to be invoked from the main thread, and the callback HTTP request method will be invoked on a different thread. The synchronization context will ensure we're able to invoke the authorization callback delegates from the main thread. The last method that I want to highlight is called callback HTTP request. It's invoked when the user authorizes or denies our app from accessing their Twitch account information. In the highlighted section, we check to see if the authorization code was returned. If it was, we send the code to Twitch asking for an access token. In this highlighted section, we check to see if we have an access token. If we do, then we validate it with Twitch, and on a successful validation, we request the user's data from Twitch passing along the access token. Then, on a successful response, we invoke the authorization granted callback delegate from within the synchronization context. In the event the user did not grant us access to their Twitch information, we'll invoke the authorization denied callback delegate from within the synchronization context. Let's head over to the brainCloud portal and set up the Twitch authentication script. Click Design, then Cloud Code, followed by Web Services. On the right, click the New Web Service button. Before we can make an HTTP request to a web service from a cloud code script, it first needs to be whitelisted. Enter a service code name and the base URL. Click Save. On the left, click Scripts. To create a new script, click the plus button. Give the script a name, and then ensure Client Callable is not selected. Then click Create. In the Details pane on the bottom left, click the pencil to edit the parameters. Remove the default parameters, then enter a pair of parameters for the external ID and the authentication token. The default value for each will be an empty string. Click Save. To begin editing the script, click Edit. Delete the default script. Get the input data that's passed in by the external authentication request. The user's Twitch email is the data's external ID, and the Twitch access token is the data's authentication token. We then need to get the HTTP client proxy from the bridge. The bridge provides a mechanism to access all of brainCloud services within a cloud code script. Using the HTTP client proxy will validate the access token with Twitch. If the access token was valid, then this script will return true, which means our authentication was successful. Click Save. At the top left of the brainCloud portal, click the three horizontal lines. Click Authentication, then click External. On the right, click the plus button. Give the external identity a name, then select the cloud code script that we just wrote from the drop-down list. Click the checkmark to save. We're all done in the brainCloud portal. Open Visual Studio and navigate to the constant script. We have a few constants to add, including the name of the brainCloud external authentication identity that we just created. Next, add a constant for the Twitch OAuth authorization URL. Then, add a constant for the client ID. Let's go to the Twitch developer console and copy it. Then paste it back in our constants. Next, create a constant for the client secret. We need to go back to the Twitch developer console and generate a client secret. I've blurred out the client secret that was generated, as it's against the Twitch developer terms of service to share an app's client secret. Copy the Twitch client secret and then paste it as the value for the Twitch client secret constant. Finally, declare a constant for the Twitch redirect URL. Save the file and navigate to the network script. Declare a trio of member variables, one to represent the Twitch helper, and the other two member variables are the authentication callback delegates. Scroll all the way to the bottom. Declare a private method called onTwitchAuthenticationGranted. This method will be invoked if the user grants our app access to their Twitch user information. We'll then use the supplied parameters to make the brainCloud authenticate external request. As usual, we need to declare a pair of callback lambdas. In the success callback lambda, we'll log the response data, then we'll assign the username, and if set, invoke the completed callback delegate. In the failure callback lambda, check to see if the lambda's code parameter is equal to the game version not supported reason code. If it is, invoke the handle app version error method, passing in the JSON error and the authentication request failed delegate as the arguments. Declare an else statement that formats an error message, including the extracted status message, then invoke the handle authentication error method. Finally, we'll make the authenticate external request, passing in the user's email, the Twitch access token, the brainCloud external identity constant, true to create an account if one does not already exist, and the success and failure callback lambdas. Next up, we'll write the onTwitchAuthenticationDenied method. This method will be invoked if the user denies our app access to their Twitch user information. Declare a meaningful error message and then invoke the handle authentication error method. Scroll up and find the request authentication universal method that we wrote in a previous lesson. Below it, declare a public method called request Twitch authentication. In the body, check to see if the Twitch helper has been instantiated. If it hasn't, instantiate it, passing in the Twitch client ID, the Twitch client secret, and the redirect URL. Initialize the authentication callback delegate member variables. Declare a local array of strings called scopes. This array will represent the information that we are requesting from the Twitch user to give our app access to. In this example, we are only requesting access to the user's email, but in your app, you may need to request additional scopes of data from the user. Consult with Twitch's developer API for additional scopes. Generate a state value. This value will be echoed back in the response, and we'll use it to validate that the response actually came from Twitch. Format the parameters for the OAuth request. Invoke the Twitch helper's start local callback server method, passing in the auth state and the onTwitchAuthenticationGranted and the onTwitchAuthenticationDenied methods as the arguments. Open the web browser, passing in the Twitch auth URL and the OAuth parameters. Save the file and then navigate to the email login dialog script. In the onTwitch button clicked method, remove the to-do comment and in its place, hide the dialog, show the connecting dialog, and invoke the network's request Twitch authentication method, passing in the callback delegates as the arguments. Save the file and navigate back into Unity. If you need to perform a manual refresh, do so now. For this lesson, we're going to change the current email login dialog to allow a user to authenticate with a Twitch identity. In the hierarchy, click the Dialog Manager. On the right side, click the Email Login dialog. From the drop-down list, select the Email Login with Twitch dialog. Save this scene and then open Visual Studio and navigate to the network script. Run the game. Most likely, we reconnected with the previously authenticated email identity from the previous sessions. Click brainCloud, then click Logout. Click Login, then click the Twitch button. This will open the web browser and display the OAuth screen to the user. The scope that our game has requested is displayed. In this case, it's just the user's email. If your app requests additional scopes, they'll be listed here too. Click Authorize, then head back into Unity. Back in Unity, the app has received a response, got the access token, and used it to get the user's email address. The email address and the access token were then sent to brainCloud as part of the external authentication request. The Cloud Code script then validated the access token, and as a result, we are officially authenticated using Twitch. Click the Console tab and go through the console logs to confirm this. Stop the app and open Safari. Navigate to the brainCloud portal. Click Users, then User Browser. Click the top user in the list. Notice that this user was authenticated using the External Authentication Twitch Cloud Code script. Cloud Code Scripting Basics is the next lesson in the Unity Bootcamp.